Yeah, I mean, so about exactly a year ago, I was still working at a hotel as a revenue manager, and the hotel was connected to a convention center. So we're a big box, big group heavy hotel. And I think this is the time where groups started canceling. And I'm the person that does the short term forecast for it. So just group after group after group, like dropping off. And I think finally in March, I was furloughed. It was just a really sad time because, we have over 1,200 rooms at the property, and our bread and butter is group business. So obviously, the pandemic is not going to nix with that. So a lot of us were furloughed in March. Right after that, I was very proactive. I started learning everything, trying to figure out what my next move was because I could tell like hospitality is not going to recover anytime soon. So I started taking classes on Coursera, edX, LinkedIn Learning. And then I started researching companies in the Fortune's top places to work because the company I worked for was number one there 2 years in a row. So I was like, well, I enjoyed there. So what else is on there? And that's when I first heard of Salesforce. And at first I was like, oh, I don't want to do sales. Did a little more research, found out that's not what they do. Actually signed up for a Trailhead account, which is their online learning account, and did that for a day, but I was like, this is awesome, but how easy or how hard is it to actually get into this? I don't know anybody who does this, so like is all the time. And then I stumbled upon your Talent Stacker episode with Bradley Rice. And that's when I really learned more about Salesforce and how lucrative it could be and how possible it is for anyone to do, even without a tech background. So I signed up for his free 5-day challenge, got hooked, actually ended up in the paid program. And I mean, I hopped back on the Trailhead in October, transferred my binge skills and binge learned everything I could straight for a month. Like, I mean, I was unemployed. In October is when I actually got laid off. So I was unemployed. I don't have kids. I use it as like it was my full time 40-hour work week job. So come November, about exactly a month later, I went ahead and took the first admin certification exam and passed. And then after that, I used all the tips I learned from the program and ended up landing a job in January that pays really well.
We'll come back to that in a second. I know Brad has a ton of questions, even before checking out that free challenge. Let's start with this. And Nita, I want to bring you into this. You said that way back in the day, or like 6 or 7, even before you found Choosify, you'd initially have heard the term Salesforce. You'd Googled it, and then you would even sign up for Trailhead, but then meh. That was kind of just there's too much space between here and there. And I think this is probably where it basically begins. So I'd be curious about if that was your perspective then, what your perspective is now. A buddy of mine text messaged me to ask me about this, and he said, "So I heard about your Salesforce program, and I said, oh great, how much information do you have about it?" And he says, "Well, just the name of it. I tried to Google it, but it was kind of confusing." Anita, how would you explain to that person on the outside what it is? What exactly would you say you do here?
Well, for me, I relate it to I'm really into organizing shows, so like Marie Kondo and Home Edit, and I feel like I am doing like reorganizing my friend's closet, but reorganizing a business to make it more efficient. But I can totally understand where your friend is coming from because that was one of the things I ran into. So there is actually a lot of information on Salesforce out there. It's too much. It's overwhelming. Even on the Trailhead, it's like the best training site I've ever used. But there were so many different modules and trails, and there wasn't something clear cut for me to actually go on, and I would get distracted by this and that. I'm like, I just got overwhelmed with all the information.
Let me plant this phrase and I'll let you riff off that and then Bradley add some context to it. This is how I would explain it now. Basically, like, first of all, anybody that's even or ever considered getting a master's in business administration where you have to go through all this work, create all these documents, prove all this, or you could just do it. Like Salesforce is actually you executing a master's of business administration directly for a company. And so, what does that look like? How do you help a company use software to find more customers, sell to those customers, retain those customers, secure the customers' data? It's basically like software tools for business administration. And the part that's so amazing is that you can go from never having heard about it before to certified and getting your first job within 4 to 6 months. Anita, is that accurate? Would you add anything onto that I missed?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically something that helps you set up your business for success. And what's really cool about it is whether you're a small business or a big business, if you're starting out as a small business, you see these big businesses, you're like, how can I even compete with that? But you can with Salesforce. It levels you up to their level.
Bradley?
Yeah, I think that's right. And what it is that there's so many businesses struggling. And if you're a small business owner or you've worked in a small business or even just being an employee at any company and you're being onboarded, think about all that goes into it. And you're probably using Outlook to send emails or Gmail, and then you're logging into some portal to put your time in or, clock in and clock out. And then you're over here filling out HR paperwork, but then you're in this other system to figure out who you're supposed to call today. And you're using probably 5 to 10 different systems on a daily basis. You've got your tasks over here, your to do list, your meetings, and everything seems so disconnected. And once you work there a couple of years, it's like, okay, I kind of get how the machine works and you figure it out. But as a new employee, it is very distracting and chaotic. And for the business owners, it is just as chaotic because they just want to pull their data from one place and just run a report and have everything they need to run their business. And they can't. They have to pull data out to Excel from 10 different spreadsheets and then plug it all together and try to figure out what the heck it means. And what Salesforce does is it allows you to compile all of that into one system and sort of have this 360 view where you can log in and you can see all of the information about your customers, your prospective customers, how many support tickets you have coming in, what the trends are with all of your data, and then make business decisions based on that. And the crazy thing about being a Salesforce professional is that we know, because we're on the inside right now, even though we're sitting on a podcast episode telling hundreds of thousands of people about this, you're still on the inside of the conversation. And there's so many people who have no idea, including customers who use Salesforce. So they think you have to be this incredibly skilled professional that knows how to do all the magic secrets in order to make this thing work. But it turns out with, 3, 4, maybe 6 months of training, I'm not going to say that you're not going to go in there and think you're just the almighty and you're going to take control over the whole system, but you are going to be in a position where you look like a magician. Your employer really has no idea what it is you're doing. They just know that it works. And that's really the incredible thing. And what leans into the lifestyle flexibility side of it is that they don't know if it was supposed to take you 1 hour or 10 hours. And if you just get the job done by the time they needed it done by, they're perfectly fine with that. And it allows you to pull a lot of different levers to increase.
Right now. So first of all, I want to say that Bradley and I, after talking to Bradley, and we were trying to create the expectations for what you could expect to see in terms of results on the other side. We said, can you give us 6 months? If you give us 6 months to work with you, we think we can get you from no experience to in a job with pretty much any individual, the vast majority of the individuals that work with us. And then two, we think that almost without exception, if you go through this process, we can get you into a job that pays somewhere between $60,000 to $80,000 a year. Now, Anita, I'll give this to you first. Was was that accurate from your experience, not as someone that went through the program but also has seen tons of other students go through this program? Do you think that was fair and maybe even conservative in some cases?
From seeing everyone else in the program, yes, that was fair. My case was a unique case, and I actually went over that amount.
All right, so we're talking about the pay structure. My understanding is your first offer, your first job that you landed, pays over it's a six-figure job. Is that accurate?
I pretty much doubled my salary from when I used to work in hospitality. Doesn't pay that well, in case anyone wants to know. But yes,
Discounts on hotel rooms, though, right?
it,
Discounts
ma-
on
it makes it worth it until you do the math and you're like, oh, I should just focus on making more money.
We did not bill it
That's
as a
awesome.
make six-figure income, but it is worth pointing out that most people will be very excited about pivoting into a totally new industry and starting out with 1680K. And Anita, regardless of whether it was 60 to 80 or 100 for you, in your with your perspective now, is that where you cap out? Is that the end for you?
No, definitely not. If you listen to Bradley's episode, I wanna work 20 hours a week.
Leverage Salesforce as your career.
And then I'll give the second half to Anita because Anita, you chose to do the paid program that Bradley and I put together. And then from your perspective, you went through the free 5 day challenge. You probably had a better understanding of, what the path would be. What value did you see personally for going through the paid program that Bradley had put in?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, "Oh, this is a lot of money and I'm living on unemployment right now. Like, is this real? Do I like just spend it?" And I mean, I thought about it more and I was like, "Well, I've had similar programs in the past that I've been part of and they work." So I bit the bullet, joined in. I mean, additional thought process is, I was in an industry that got hit hard. Salesforce is one of those things where it's part of every industry. So if one industry is like getting hit hard, you can do Salesforce for other types of companies. So I mean, like, I'm not going to be in the no, it's not. And when I was thinking about joining the program and watching Brad's videos and everything, it's just he's very like just a normal guy. I'm like, okay, so I can probably do this too. It's I know like it sounds like it's a scam. I'm telling you, it's not. You don't know me, but it's not a scam. And like even as I got this new job, I like it didn't even hit me until like I was like, all right, when's the other like shoe gonna drop? Let me wait until I get my first paycheck to make sure this is actually real and happening.